I used to struggle a lot with, and still do to a certain extent, of finding things Alex and I can do together.
Right.
And I've got a handful of sensory toys and counting toys. He likes counting that work. But then I find Isabel crawls in, and then he gets up and he wants to walk away. So it's finding that one-on-one time where it's just us two and he's focused and he wants to do it. But
Yeah.
I'd love you to pick out your sort of top three activities that you do with your children that are an absolute hit, that maybe some of us can go out and purchase
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. I'm gonna annoy you. I'll definitely show you my typical nice toys. But the thing is, it's individualized.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So I've got a child that loves ordering the colors of the rainbow, absolutely loves it. It's really calming and stimulating to him. So my rainbow gears, I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen them all over TikTok. They're like,
Yeah.
there's like 7 gears, they're all different rainbow colors, and you spin them on and then you flip it and it all spins off. I mean, it's an autism dream. Well,
Yes.
I saw it once and I was totally sold by TikTok. Um, they're
The
quite
power of
affordable.
TikTok.
Oh, they're about £10 as well, and it was
we
within seconds
we've
they
got
had
it.
to
Yeah.
be.
It's
Yeah,
great.
love you. Yeah, so he loves that because you can go on the rainbow order. So it gives him a sense of ordering. It gives him a sense of the spinning, the visual
Yeah.
stimulation, and there's a bit of cause and effect there. So for him, that is just fantastic. I've got lots of cause and effect activities. Actually, are brilliant. Have you seen the one with the monster? And it's a car, and you pump up the monster, and it blows up the
Yes.
balloon on the top of the car, and then you click the button, and it shoots across the room.
I have not
I
seen
need
this,
to
but
get
I
Yes,
would
this.
love this.
it's an
Yeah.
autism dream. So it's got cause and effect there. It's got it's getting bigger, so it's suspense, it's anticipation. It shoots across the room, so it gives a big reaction. It's really that's a really brilliant one. And a really cheap one actually is rocket balloons. If you eBay rocket balloons, you can get about 1,000 for like 12 quid. And they're really long. They look like circus balloons that you make a dog out of.
Yeah.
But the difference with these is you just blow them up and then you just let them go, and they go whee like that, and they spin all across the room. I'm awful for children that don't like balloons because they are literally
Yeah.
their worst. We have to pick and choose when we use these. But they spin up in the air really high and make the most incredible sound, and then drop to the floor. And again, that's brilliant. So I would say cause and effect activities
Yeah. Mm.
really is really great. But yeah, those three are probably the ones I reach for most in my attention autism sessions, I would say.
That's
Well,
really good to hear
yeah.
about the rocket one. Actually, Max got a birthday present from one of his friends, and it's like a rocket launcher, so it's just foam rockets, and he stomps
Stamp
on,
it.
and
Yeah.
he loves it. And it's really good, I think, for things like his coordination as well, because that's something that we've noticed is sort of an area that he's found
Yeah.
more challenging. So even just that, and it's really interesting how he's worked out how to do it. Like instead of necessarily stamping on it, but he literally just used his whole weight just to sit on
Just
it.
sit there.
And it would shoot up. And again, I guess it's really repetitive. And I know loads of children love those kinds of toys. But yeah, it's been a massive hit
Yeah,
at
and
home.
it's great to share that with them, even if they want every single turn and you're not turn taking typically. Just the
Yeah.
fact that you're reacting to them doing it and you're running and getting the foam and giving it back to them so they can do it again. It's a joint activity, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be my turn, your turn. It doesn't have to be that.
Hmm.
It can just be, I am loving this just as much as you are. Isn't this so fun? That's so whatever that is for your child, your child could be jumping up and down watching a Bluey episode. If you're jumping up and down with them too, not ironically, genuinely enjoying the episode as much as they are, just join their joy. I
Yeah.
think that's great. So whatever you already own it. I don't want to sell anything. You already
Yeah.
own the thing that brings your child so much joy. It could be throwing stones into the pond. I don't know, anything.
Yeah.
Join their joy. Just don't observe it. Don't just be the observer. Just join it. Throw
Hmm.
it. Find the joy in it. Be genuine about it. Don't fake it. Actually find the joy in it. Jump up and down like they do. You'll get just excited about it, and then they'll think, "Huh, she's really cool." Like my
Mum, the
language. Yeah,
best.
Mama's so cool. Like she loves what I do. I feel heard. I feel seen. I feel
Yeah.
understood. She's speaking my language. This is awesome. And do you know what's even better? They can't fail at it. They're the expert at it. they can teach you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What's not to like in their eyes about that? Sometimes they'll want to push you away because actually the enjoyment they get out of it is that it gives them a moment's peace from you. So
Yeah.
honor that. If they push you away, just honor that, obviously. But
Yeah.
if they're happy you being there, then that's great too. Yeah.
Do you feel like autism and special educational needs in children's becoming more accepted in society, or do you think we've still got a long, long, long way to go?
I always think it is, and then I see an awful statement or an awful video, and just it reminds me how far we've got to go. I think it's really easy in this space to tuck yourself into a bubble of love for these kids, like especially with my Instagram, like that's 125,000 people that are obsessed with autistic children. Like that is so cool. Like it's so
Yeah.
cool, and it's so cool to have that in your pocket all the time, and it's so cool for my at work to be surrounded by adults that absolutely adore these kids and parents that are advocating for them. Like that's awesome. So day to day, my bubble is filled with the most amazing world of like love.
Mm.
But I know that's not reality. And sometimes my bubble bursts when I see an article or a politician like or a
Mm.
news article or a new journal or a new legislation or the lack of MPs turning up to vote on something that about send provision or lack of funding or like there's so many things, and it bursts my bubble and I remember how far we've got to go.
Mm.
I feel like it's a bit of a peaks and troughs, isn't it? Like I've got to remember that there's the most amazing community that are absolutely vouching for these kids, and my God, is it better than it was 10 years ago?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think we have got a long way to go. We've got a certain long way to go as far as low support needs females with autism
Mm.
go. That's still very unknown and very unresearched. We've got a long way to go there.
Mm.
And things are changing as far as autism affirming practices. I still feel like we've got a long way to go there.
Mm.
Yeah, but it's going the right direction for sure.
Absolutely. And I know this is a big ask, and I know there'll be many people listening that children are at the moment non-verbal or have a few words and just would love to have a crystal ball and see into the future, even just in a year's time. But what are the signs that a child is going to talk who has additional needs? So Alex's understanding is getting very good and he's attempting words like I've explained, but it's still very little. And I guess I want to know what the signs are that you've noticed in your job that you think, oh, I think this child's trying to speak.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I know why this was really important. I guess I can answer this question and I will answer it. I think I want to preface it though with there are lots of different ways to communicate, and I get
Mm,
why speaking is so important. And I get it. I get it
yeah,
because you want them to be part of society and you want them to be understood by everyone other than just yourselves. I get it. I do. I really am hopeful for a world in which they will be understood by the outside world with the use of technology, which is progressing so fast. God,
yeah,
in 5-10 years we are going to see the most incredible technological advances for these children, especially now there's a lot of money in it. We will see lots of technical advances, so I'm really hopeful that even if your child never speaks verbally, they will be understood by society. They will be able to give their opinions, or they will be able to give consent. They will be able to share their inner world with the outer world, whatever
mm,
that is like for your child and their capability. I really do believe that. So I hope that gives you hope, whether what my second answer is going to be or not, because I really do see the most incredible communication every day that's non-speaking. But I know what you want to hear. So that's my preface. My answer is little things you see are I suppose it's similar things to what you see with a neurotypical baby, really. Sometimes when you're talking over a baby, you'll see their mouth mirroring your movements.
hmm
So I often see that they're interested in the mouth, they're interested in how it sounds, and even if no sounds are coming out, they're kind of trying to maybe mirror your mouth. They might be, like I said before, they might be humming or singing or kind of doing that to like common songs, maybe if they're interested, or maybe even be like tapping to common songs. They might be saying ga 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 ba 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 da da da. Again, that's touching. I've seen that in my class. I guess it's hard to answer because our focus in school is to get them to communicate, not to speak, I think.
Yes.
So it's probably a question more suited to a speech and language therapist, because they would be able to tell you the physical signs of the muscle tone, the tongue, the lips, those kind of things. But I think for a special education teacher, we're just facilitating communication because we want our children to have choices and to give their opinion and to feel understood and heard. So the signs that I would look for is your child aware of what they want, or do they just pick randomly when they're shown a choice? They've actually got an opinion on what they want. Do they reach for not that biscuit, if they're like that, I'm like, oh, that excites me. And actually, some of my best speakers in class have been my worst communicators.
That's interesting.
Can I just say that again? So some of my best speakers, they can say whole phrases, they can sing, they can do all sorts of things. They can't communicate a thing. They can't share a choice. They can't actually say what they want. They can't say how they're feeling. They don't have any independence with their speech, right?
Yeah.
So like, as parents and as teachers, what do we actually want for our children? Do we want them to be as independent, or do we want them to be as good as speaking? There is a difference there. For me, is independence. So I would love my children to be able to make choices, to be able to buy a bus ticket and take a journey in the bus, or to be able to communicate with friends. Now, none of that involves actually speaking. You can do a lot through gesture and pointing and AAC and symbols, and right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like I find it a difficult question to hear and to answer.
Yeah, no, I get
It's
that.
actually not my goal. And I know, I get it. I get why speaking is so important. But I think that actually the focus should be shifted to, I want my child's voice to be heard. And that doesn't always mean speech. Because, like I said, like I've known children that can read real full scripts and ask questions or whatever, but they can't have a conversation because it's just like script. Yeah. So
it's a really interesting point that you make as well, and I think where it actually falls down a lot for some children because they can be overlooked. So Max is speaking, but when it comes to actually being able to communicate his feelings or what he's feeling about anything, that's something he finds really difficult. But I think actually, does he get as much intervention in that kind of thing as another child who's maybe non-speaking? Perhaps not, because from the outside and in terms of a speech and language assessment, he's fine.
yeah, and he probably says, when asked how you're feeling, he probably just says happy, because that's the right answer.
He knows happy or sad, or maybe hungry, but generally just happy or sad. If I'm crying, I'm sad, and everything else I think is happy. Yeah, that's something that we're trying really hard to work with him
I would
on.
say that's probably the most important. And I would say that he's probably with his non-verbal peers at a level of that, right? I would say, so my focus is communication, whatever that is. And I don't just pick one for a child. I pick all sorts of, just have it all on offer and just see what they gravitate towards. One child, he's been in our school since nursery. He's only just come to us in my class in September, so he was in the neurotypical nursery next door, and was seen to have bad behavior, ripping displays, throwing things constantly, just couldn't cope in that environment. The early years environment where everything's out in like pretty little the tables, just couldn't cope with it. Couldn't cope. Was incredibly destructive, heightened, dysregulated, even when happy, was just really destructive. Got so much joy out of the reaction of that. Came to my class and I was like, how are we going to manage this? We've already got 10 children. Like, what are we going to do with this child? Genuinely, that was my fear. With all my experience, I just thought, what are we going to do with this child? But randomly, after a term, and I can't take any credit for this, it was just all the communication is just out. He saw me modelling with an AAC, with symbols in a story and just grabbed it off me, and it was a sweet shop. So he worked out that when I pressed sweet, I got a sweet, and he was like, "Oh, I like this." So yeah, it was my maths money work basically, was sweet shop. I thought, how am I going to get my kids money? Right, they can buy sweets anyway. So yeah, he worked out when I press that, I get a sweet. This is
Yeah.
awesome. I love this thing. You're not having this back. I'm having this. To a term later is now typing whole words on the iPad. Like, I haven't taught him that. He has just worked out this thing means I get stuff. This is awesome. Right, what's that? What's that word? What's that word? And he was like writing every bit of text he could find around the room. He was writing it on his iPad, pressing it, and then hearing it. Oh, okay, so that's what that says. That's what that says. That's what it says. 2 terms
That is
later,
incredible.
he taught himself to write words, and even did a question mark the other day. I don't know how he's learned that. I didn't teach him that. He's just done it. That's what I mean about facilitating. Like, sometimes it's just about having those things on offer.
Sure.
Now, is he
It's having those
speaking? Yes.
opportunities, isn't
He's
it? And
Yeah.
they'll
speaking.
be
He's arguing for the toilet. He can say exactly what he wants. He can say what juice he wants. He can say what toilet he wants. And you know what's happened? His behaviour. He's our best behaviour
something.
child in class. He's our
Yeah.
most
Wow.
irritated. He's our calmest.
Because he's
Because he just
being
wanted to
seen
be
and he's being
understood.
heard.
Being
Yeah.
Yeah.
understood, it comes from frustration. He's not frustrated anymore.
Yeah.
He feels heard. He feels understood. And even if we say no now, it doesn't come from frustration. He's frustrated that he can't get that thing, but he's not frustrated that he feels misunderstood. And there is a difference there, and you can see it.
Yeah.
And that is not, I'm not taking any credit, because that is nothing that I've done. The only thing I did
No, but you have, because
was
you've given him the chance,
Yes.
and
The
there'll be
opportunities.
so many children out there who don't get given that opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, that little boy's hit the jackpot in getting
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
environment and you and all of those opportunities to find out how he best
The
communicates.
high-tech, expensive AAC app that we're using might not be the answer for another child.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
might need symbols, or another child might need photos, and it might have exactly the same impact. So when you ask that question, how do I know my child is speaking? He's saying far more words than my other child,
Yeah.
who's 6, who's saying loads of words, but not actually asking for anything,
Mm.
right?
It's
Actually, I would rather the first one. I would rather
yeah.
a child who is, he doesn't say a thing either, nothing. Only makes sound when he's crying. No sounds. But my God, is he communicating?
That's incredible, isn't it? And also, I think one thing we all forget is you don't know what level of understanding they've got either. So
We always
Alex's
assume
understanding, yeah, because you assume they don't speak, they don't understand. And a lot of people make this wrong assumption. And like the nursery said to me the other day, he's one of the best behaved in the classroom. You tell him to sit down, he sits down. You tell him to line up, he lines up. Tell him to take his shoes, takes his shoes off. And she said, doesn't mean just because you can speak, you don't have that level of understanding. And I think a lot of people can forget that.
Yeah, and understanding of quite acute things as well. Conversations that are happening at home or in the class, whether it's gossip or whatever, you've got to assume competence. You have to.
Yes.
You have to.
Yes.
With
Yeah.
all children.
Yeah. In your opinion, and you've discussed it, a lot of things that you would recommend, but what would you say makes an amazing classroom environment for a SEND child? Like, what would be your top tips?
I would say as little stimulation as possible, and sometimes that can look quite boring. So
Mm.
early years classrooms look so beautiful. They've got beautiful natural things. It's all out. It's all on display. It's all, it's beautiful. There's tough trays out, but sometimes that is just far too overstimulating. And the fact that it's all open, all in one room, there's no order or organization to it. That's almost the nightmare, actually, for our children. I know your children are going to reception issues.
I'm thinking that this sounds very familiar, this classroom.
It doesn't, it's not for all children, but typically that is the nightmare, because there's no rules, it's not clear, there's no areas. I mean, sometimes early years do it very well and there is clear areas. So I would say separating a classroom into clearly defined areas is such a great start. It makes, because autistics typically take in all the information all at once, you're just lessening that, then they only have to take in this area's information all at once. And just think really carefully about what you're having on display and on your cupboards. Is it busy? Is it fussy? Is it messy? And it might not be messy in a clean sense, but it might just be fussy. what are the colors like? Is it, does everything have to be out? Does it have to be in clear boxes? Could it be in opaque boxes? It might be as simple as that. Just, yeah, I think that is a really easy fix. And I do it with, I use screens, there's big, screens, and I use furniture. So rather than everything being pushed to the sides, I kind of like to section out my room in different areas, and it just makes it far more achievable for a child to stay in an area and focus on a thing. Whereas if it's all open, like they're all everywhere. They're
a
like,
lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. And then having an outdoor area that they can access, I think, so they can get out at any time. Yeah, I guess timetable is a thing as well. Like our kids can have a sensory break or snack whenever they want to. And I know that's a luxury for special ed, but I don't think it's completely unreasonable that a child could get up and move around when they want in early years. We'll have a bit of a crunchy snack when they need in early years.
Yeah.
The
But
snack's a really interesting one because Max eats all day, and
Yeah.
so for
again,
him to
everything
go,
has oral sensory
yeah,
seeking.
absolutely, he literally all day he'll just be like, can I have a snack, please, can I have a snack, can I have a snack? And I think you're right in that it is that, just that sensory seeking behavior. And he's obviously going to go to school where they have, and I'm hoping he'll be okay, because this is typically how it's done at nursery, so I think he's relatively used to it in the nursery environment. But it's literally, he'll have his breakfast at home, then they'll have a snack mid-morning, and then he has to go all that time without any kind of,
It
yeah,
might be that he has a chewy, or it might be that he
yeah,
has a drinks bottle that is quite hard to suck, so that he's getting a little bit in that he can have at all
that's
times.
a good idea,
Or it
yeah.
might be that they allow him to have cereal in a closed container at all times. I would just work with the school with that one. But yeah, give him the benefit of the doubt. See if he even needs it. Because I think sometimes we try and put intervention in place of,
Yeah,
what might
yeah,
happen. So
yeah, we
Yes.
perceive that that's going to be a problem, and actually it
yeah,
might not.
it's
Yeah.
not. So
Mm-hmm.
see if he does, but if not, I would get a hard to suck juice bottle, just because then he's getting some feedback. And they
Refilled.
let them have water at all times, don't they? So I would do
Yeah.
that. Chewy is another thing, and then maybe at last resort some kind of crunchy snacks that he can just have on hand.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but yeah, everything you're saying about him is very, very oral seeking.
Yeah,
So I think that's
yeah,
obviously very important to him.
For a parent that has sort of just found out that their child, has been diagnosed with autism, or that they might have a special educational need, what would be your advice to them? I mean, we say all the time what we've learned is focus on what they're doing and not what they're not doing. And I think the biggest thing for me is that just because he doesn't speak doesn't mean he can't communicate, and focus on that rather than the fact that he might not be speaking yet.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I feel like I've got a warped perception, because for me it's my normal,
Yeah.
and I'm coming at it from a very different place.
mm.
I've chosen this. It's very different,
Yeah,
isn't
that's so true. Yeah,
I haven't got the same. I mean, God, I was welling up on your first podcast when I was listening to it. I haven't got those feelings of grief, fear, forever. Or I just get to come to work today and play with these amazing children, and I come at it from a very different angle.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I don't often see the parents when they are first diagnosed, because they have to have a diagnosis and EHCP to get into a class like mine. But what I would do is genuinely offer podcasts like your own. I would offer Instagram accounts from parents with children with a similar age or diagnosis to theirs, for just that bit of reassurance that they are not doing this on their own. What they're feeling is perfectly fine. Laura Brown, so Spinning World of Autism accounts like that. Stories about autism, he's fantastic. Just
Mm.
real, honest, raw accounts
Yeah.
from parents that are sharing the fears, the joys, the love, the anxiety, everything.
yeah, the whole
Mm-hmm.
range of emotions that
Oh,
comes with parenting. Yeah,
everything. And so they can easily find their community in their pocket, because not always will you find another parent at the
mm.
nursery or whatever in real life like you guys have. So I feel like if you've got a community in your pocket, I feel like it could feel a little bit easier to navigate. And maybe you might skip, like Laura says, she skipped a couple of years by using social media of her learning journey, and I think that's
Yeah.
probably quite
Yeah.
accurate.
I
Of
think we're really lucky in so many ways, because if you think even 10 years ago, 15
Mm.
years ago, before the rise of social media, as controversial as social media is,
Yeah,
actually those parents would have felt even more isolated sometimes
right.
than the parents now. At least you've got someone that you could listen to something, or you can watch something and you think, oh, like I really resonate with that.
Relate.
I
Yeah,
feel like they understand.
yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
not the only person who's going through this journey, or who has a child who can't deal with a play date, or
exactly. Isn't invited
isn't
to parties or
exactly, yeah, who doesn't get invited to parties. And I'm not the one who people
doesn't
speak to at the
nursery.
nursery gates, and all of those kind of things that are
A
hard
nursery
as a
is like
parent,
the
that you
only
want.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. In reality, your real life, you might be the only one. You might
yeah,
be the only person in your town, your village, or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, I know the National Autistic Society's stats are 1 in 100 are autistic. That is so wrong. It is
yeah,
so wrong. There are
yeah,
3 or 4 children in every single class in my school.
Yeah. And in
Like,
yeah,
mainstream
one
now.
in 10. I will put my life on the line. It is 1 in 10 minimum are autistic. So
Yeah.
just know, if you feel like you're the only autistic parent in the nursery, it's just because they don't know their child is autistic yet.
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
That's
it's
a
not because
really,
they're not.
yeah.
yeah,
And just know that you're going to be the expert that they come to when they realize.
Mm,
So, like,
mm,
just own that, and also, just, it's okay to grieve. It's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love your child. It's absolutely
mm,
okay to grieve the child, and they might not be. Like, that's perfectly okay. I have no judgment for that.
mm-hmm.
Well,
Like,
I just want to say thank you really to you, because all the things that you're doing in terms of sharing your expert understanding and knowledge actually help me, and probably you, Amy, and any
Yeah,
other parent out
100%.
there, because we just wouldn't have had that information before. And it's empowering, I think, as a
mm,
parent, to have that, and to feel like you can go into the school and you can say, oh, hang on a minute, actually I know that there are other ways of doing this, and I know that we can do different things, we can do different interventions, and they will make a difference to my child. So
I do worry often that when I'm sharing this, I'm disempowering, because I'm like,
no,
you should do all of this stuff all at
no,
once. So that's
No.
actually really encouraging to hear that. And it makes so much sense to me, actually. That makes sense that it would be empowering, because you're being loaded with ammo of, like, I've got these options. It's not just, I don't feel comfortable with this, but I have no other option. Like, you're saying, why don't you try this, why don't you do this? So that's actually, that comforts me a lot, because I do
yeah.
worry that I'm putting a hell of a lot of pressure on teachers and parents to do everything all at once that I've learned over 15 years. So yeah, that's nice to
There's an
know.
element of, there should
Mm,
be that pressure, though, I think. We can learn so much, and as parents I think we need to try and educate ourselves, so that
yeah.
we can equip ourselves with the tools, like you were saying earlier, to be that calm for our children, not that chaos. And yeah, I think you do feel it as a parent, but I don't think you feel it because of Instagram accounts like yours. I think you just naturally feel that as a parent,
Very,
wanting to do the best for your child. Um but I think that it's important that we are able to kind of merge that world of special education that you're involved in, and try and bring that into mainstream, because the reality is that
very,
not every child's going to get the opportunity to go to a
yeah.
specialist school. There's just
No.
not that much provision out there. So if we
No,
can try and bring
it's
that
the,
into mainstream schooling and make that the difference, because
it's
so
the only
many of the things you do are relevant for neurotypical children as well. It's
Yeah.
not going to do any harm to have that in the
yeah.
classroom. So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about that, actually, and I think that does come through in my account, that it's for all teachers. Like I said right at the beginning, all teachers are SEN teachers, whether they've chosen this or not. And I
Yeah.
am really passionate that everything I do can be done in mainstream. It is not an excuse. Budgeting and time, and the fact that you've got 32 other children, is not an excuse. All children will benefit from this. And
Yeah.
I maybe shouldn't say this on. My mainstream school don't agree with me on that. They think it's not
Mm,
possible, but I'm not going to stop until I prove it is. It is possible. It is
yeah,
possible.
So Alex's teacher was a SEN teacher for more than 10 years, and now this was her
Right,
dream, to teach primary, but
right,
it's set up how she taught SEN children, because she said
right,
this is the best way to teach children.
right. It
mm,
is. Good autism practice is good practice.
Yeah.
yeah,
It just is.
And I guess the last thing that we should um, raise a point on is that I think a lot of people fear special educational needs schools. Looking round them, I probably looked around 5 or 6, and I felt at this stage there was a lot higher need in there than Alex needed at this time. And I
Yeah.
think people, me and Kirsty are not included in this because we've spoken very openly to the teachers and said, keep that dialogue open. As soon
Mm,
as you give us the green light that there needs to be extra support, we're going to
mm,
go and get it. But I think there's some parents that fear that
yeah. I
sort of
see
thing.
that
What would you say to
firsthand,
them?
actually. Lots of parents come around my class and you can just see they're like a deer in headlights. They are terrified that their child is the same as other children in my class. They're terrified that this is what future might hold. They're terrified of that their child needs this provision. It's scary. However, just because they're the children you're seeing when walking around the classroom doesn't mean that that's what provision will look like when your child is in the class. It is, I can't say how bespoke it is. Every year for every single child, every single thing is bespoke. Their IEPs, their targets, their timetable, what teachers they have, everything is such a luxury. So I don't know what child wouldn't benefit from that. You
Mm,
could give me a future NASA astronaut in my class, and just because the other children aren't like them, because it is so bespoke and so linked to their special interests, they will still thrive.
mm-hmm.
So I come at it from like a feeling of like completely being biased that special education is the best place to be. Because I just think, why wouldn't you choose that for your child? But I'm talking to two people that haven't, but but I just think like I get why you want them to be close to their neurotypical peers, and there is benefits from that. But
Yeah,
100%, and that's actually one thing that we can't offer in my class. We can offer a completely bespoke curriculum, bespoke everything. We cannot offer them an environment of children
mm,
that are neurotypical to learn alongside.
sure.
Luckily, my class is attached to a mainstream school, so we can offer that as an inclusion package if it's
Yeah,
appropriate. But lots of special needs classes can't. So I say that's the only thing we fall short on. So I totally get if that is your reasoning, that is an absolutely fair reasoning. But if it is about levels or education levels, or yeah, that your child's not bad enough or whatever, whatever it is, whatever the
mm,
language I hear, it's just not true. It's just not
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, like I say, I've had children that have taken GCSEs, I've had children that have taken SATs in my class, I've had children, yeah,
amazing.
like it just isn't true. It's so bespoke. It, but it might be true one day that they are too low support needs to be offered a place.
Yes,
Yeah.
And
yes,
that's what's happening year on year. Our children are more and more complex that are coming in with whether that's medical needs or educational needs, whatever. Just because there's such lacking places,
Yeah.
that
yeah,
mainstream schools are having to educate children that we would have had easily in our classes.
yes. This is
We would,
what's happening in our
yeah, there's
school.
no way
Yeah.
we would be seen. So our year sixes that left 3 years ago, there's no way we would get reception children like that now. No way. We just wouldn't.
And that's what worries me actually, is that I went on a tour round a special needs school, and she actually asked me outright about Alex, and she said he won't get in here because
Right.
he falls in the middle. It's too high a need, that we're getting children here that have, very high needs, and we are having to turn away children that 5 years ago this was what
Yeah.
our school was about.
And then I hear that and think, okay, then that's what the situation we're in. Okay,
Yeah,
well, then special education schools and teachers need to be working really closely with
Yeah.
mainstream teachers and
That's
schools.
what I was
That's
going to say.
it just fuels me more to
yeah,
keep sharing. It really does.
yeah,
Because I can't take any more children in my class. I can't, because I'd be taking away provision from the current children. So what
yeah,
can I offer? I can share it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can share
100%.
it for £3, £1, whatever. It's ridiculous what I charge for my stuff. It is so cheap because I just want the teachers to have the opportunity to test it out. I
Yeah,
don't want them to have to beg, borrow, and still budget from their head teacher. I want them to just be able to get it and use it.
yeah,
That's my whole business philosophy for me, and sensory classroom. And I know you asked in the beginning about why I started. that's not why I started social media, but why I started selling my planning and selling all my resources, is I just need it out there.
Yeah.
I don't want that you don't know how to do this to be an excuse. I don't want that you can't have the budget, or your head teacher's not letting you do it, to be an excuse. There is no
Yeah.
excuse with my website. Like, you can literally get like stuff. It is literally £1. Like, it's so crazy. It's silly, and I get told all the time that I should charge more, but I don't want to. What I want is for
It to be used in
it to be
classrooms,
used in
Yeah. To
classrooms.
make the
especially
difference.
especially if this is what the future looks like.
It is, and it is the future. It is
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah.
All the manifestos, everything we're reading at the moment is that it's all about inclusion and mainstream, and improving mainstream provision. That's what it's about. So we need to take that. Okay, that's what it is, right? Fine.
Yeah.
So we need to get
How do we
involved.
work with that?
We
Exactly.
need to
How do
get
we improve it
involved.
and make it better?
We
Yeah.
need to have special needs teachers leading training. We need to have mainstream schools visiting special needs schools and not having them so closed and locked away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm part of a mainstream school, and I've never led training for my mainstream teachers, even though I've been really knocking on the door. I mean, you can imagine that I have,
Yeah.
to train teachers up, and it's not been accepted. We need to change that. It's really
Yeah.
important.
100%.
Yeah.
Are you surprised at how in demand special needs schools are, even from 10 years ago?
No, I mean, just looking at like medical needs, like medical advances are so incredible now that children are surviving, whereas they normally wouldn't be. So
Sure.
it's just, as far as a medical perspective, it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
these children that are surviving, which is amazing, need educating. Like,
Yes.
that just makes sense. Like,
Yes.
what do they think was going to happen? Like, when babies, one of my kids in my last school was born at 22 weeks
Oh
Oh
at
wow.
my
£2.
gosh.
That's
Sorry.
incredible. What an amazing
Wow.
medical advance. Incredible. These children are gonna have needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna be disabled. They're gonna need educating. Like, you can't have one without the other. So I don't know what they thought was gonna happen, but of course, like, I think
Mm,
it's amazing that we get all these beautiful children surviving in the world. It's amazing. But they need educating, and they deserve the best teachers, and they
Yeah.
deserve it. They deserve the school. But then that impacts, obviously, everyone else, doesn't it?
Yeah.
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 What's the best part of your job, would you say?
The best bit of the job, I mean, God, I just get to have fun all day. Like, I'm not
But
gonna
you
lie.
can tell that though, your energy
Yeah.
is incredible and it just like it oozes out of you. It's infectious.
Don't get me wrong. Like, my TAs, like, I get stressed, and like it becomes overwhelming when you really care about the kids.
Yeah.
Sure.
It becomes overwhelming, and it's not the kids that overwhelm me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's never the kids that overwhelm me. It's always like not being able to offer what I know they need, or not having the, it's that frustrates me. It's never the children. So that takes its toll 100%. And finances, staffing, that's probably the worst bit of the job. It's never the children. The best bit of the job is I literally get paid to play and hang out with my best mates all day. Like, that is awesome. It's
Oh.
awesome. Like, I shouldn't say it's my head teacher. I would do it for free. I would. That is so clear, I think. I love it. I love the planning. I love writing IEPs for them. I love meeting the relationship we get with the parents. I love knowing their siblings so well. I I just love hanging out with them. I love it. I love it. The worst bit about the job is me having to do so many meetings and like uh paperwork and risk assessments. I just want to play with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't met one SEN teacher yet that hasn't thoroughly enjoyed her job, and it makes our journey as a parent so lovely because they're so lovable and kind, and they show affection in their own way without, we like with my son, without having to say anything, hence why we call this love needs no words. And
Exactly.
how wonderful is that?
Yeah, it absolutely doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. I mean, also, jokes need no words. I
Yeah.
have like met the funniest kids ever. Like, I once had this girl, I think she was about 12, and she used to find completely non-speaking. She had a wicked sense of humor. She used to find page numbers and used to point at different members of staff and say that they were that age. Like,
Oh,
like,
I
how
love that.
brilliant is that? Like, they're like, it just shows like you just need no words. Love needs no words. Jokes needs no words.
Yeah.
Education needs no words. Yeah, it
I
just
love that.
doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also
Oh,
they just teach me far more than I teach them. Like,
yeah.
I'll be laying down with a child and I have ADHD, so I completely hyperfixate sometimes, and I forget that I'm a teacher. I forget when I'm in the car, so I just like fixate on it. It happens more often than I'd like to admit. And yeah, so we're like doing intensive interaction, like, and playing. And like, I don't know, they'll just like notice something that I haven't noticed, or they'll do something that I wouldn't see normally. I wouldn't notice that normally. And I love seeing the world through their eyes. Like, I just love it. I just love it so much. They're also the strongest parents like ever. Like, they haven't chosen this. You guys haven't chosen this. My God, do you step up? Jesus, I have never met more devoted and like passionate and educated parents of disabilities. Like, honestly, fire. Like, I find it so inspirational to spend a lot of time with parents of SEN, because my God, like, they act like they chose it. They act like they were made for it. But we know that they were like, I know that's not it. I just know that they've just stepped up, and
Mm,
just shows that everyone can if they want to. So
yeah. Yeah. And it's been great for me to be able to. I feel honoured actually that I'm in a world that I never really knew existed before.
I think that's so true. It makes you so much of a better parent.
Mm,
Like, you wouldn't be the parent you are without your sons. I wouldn't be the teacher I was without my
mm,
class. No way. Not even a tenth of the teacher I am, and I'm feel exactly the same as parents. You don't know what you're capable of until you're put in that situation, do
It's
you?
yeah.
so true. I remember
Mm,
my dad asking me when we first sort of started out on this journey, and he was like, "You must sometimes just ask yourself, why me?"
mm,
And I said to him back, I was like, "But maybe somewhere along the line, it was because they knew that we were what Max needed. Like
Yeah.
we could do this for him. Like
yeah,
we
my
Yeah.
could,
mum always says that.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
Yeah.
mm,
We
And
we
thank
could
God, are
fight for him,
we?
and we could, we could make it like the best life he can have and the best opportunities."
mm,
I was like, because I just have to look at it in a positive light.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just, yeah, for me, I
Yeah.
just can't go down that rabbit hole,
mm,
really.
mm.
But it's absolutely justified to feel like that too. It's
Mm,
okay,
Mm.
like, to have both of those feelings in parallel with each other at once.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
It's
yeah,
absolutely
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's healthy to have a good old cry now and again.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, because you care, right? That's just more
Yeah,
proof
this
that
is
you
it.
like,
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
and
Oh,
it is
Jordan,
hard.
thank you so much. Honestly, we could talk to you for hours.
One day I will start my own school. One day
Yes.
I'll start
Oh
my
my
own run of
gosh.
schools, but
Well,
I'm
give
not
us a heads up.
there
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yet. I'm
First
not
dibs,
there yet.
okay?
Oh,
No,
Oh,
there's a lots of amazing teachers out there. Just
yeah,
because they're not on social media doesn't mean they're not there.
yeah, you
The head
are.
teacher isn't letting them, or they don't want to be on the camera. But trust me, there are lots of amazing SEN teachers out there.
oh,
Everything I've learned has been from other SEN teachers or OTs or speech and language therapists. There's incredible professionals out there. Yeah.
Well,
but
thank
thank
you
you for,
so
yeah,
much for
thank you for
sharing
sharing the
everything with us.
message.
Yeah, it's
And
been brilliant.
it's been so interesting, and I know it's going to help so many people listening. So
I hope
thank you
so.
so much.